Imagine if one day a doctor suddenly told us we had a brain disease. Our body's fine, but this illness takes away one thing that makes us human: our memory. At first, it's just forgetting where we put stuff. Then we forget how to walk, forget familiar places, faces, and even forget ourselves. You look in the mirror, and the person staring back feels like a stranger. But for one grandma, this was not just a scary thought. It was real. And she didn't want to forget her grandchildren. So, she made a decision that most people would not even dare to imagine: to end her life with a doctor's help. On the day it happened, she gathered with her 3 children. A doctor arrived and asked her over and over if she was really sure. Then, she took some medicine, laid down, and got the injection. 20 seconds later, she passed away. This case leaves us with one big question: should we actually be able to choose when to end our life? A lot of movies have scenes that are tough to watch. Some people even skip to the ending just to avoid them. Maybe that's kind of like what some people, like the grandma earlier, are going through. And she's not alone. In 2021, tens of thousands of people chose to end their lives medically. It's called euthanasia, and it's usually done by doctors to stop suffering or pain that's become unbearable. A doctor might do euthanasia by stopping all medications and life support for a patient who has no chance of getting better, or by giving them a deadly substance through an injection. Even though it sounds scary, there are actually quite a few countries that allow euthanasia. For example, the Netherlands, the first country to legalize it. Decades ago, a doctor there had a mother who was seriously ill. She begged him again and again to help end her life. He did, but then he got arrested. It kicked off a big public debate. A lot of people defended him and said he was actually helping his mom, and that it was not murder. After years of debate, the Netherlands finally legalized euthanasia in 2002. Over time, more and more people started choosing euthanasia to end their lives. Still in the Netherlands, in 2002, there were nearly 2,000 euthanasia cases. By 2017, that number had increased a lot. Most of those who went through it were seriously ill. Over half of the cases were people with cancer. But choosing this path is not as easy as it sounds. To go through with euthanasia, a person needs official approval from both the government and the doctors. In the Netherlands, every case has to go through a special ethics team and get the green light from at least 2 independent doctors. The whole process can take months, sometimes even years. On top of that, the rules are super strict. The main requirement is that the patient must be fully aware, absolutely sure, and beyond recovery, or they just can't handle the pain anymore. Their request has to be persistent, not just something they thought about once. In some countries, the patient even needs a doctor's prediction that they don't have long left to live. But what actually happens when euthanasia is carried out? When a patient goes through euthanasia and gets the injection, a fluid made of deadly substances enters their body. For example, there's a substance that makes the body's muscles stop working, including the ones that help us breathe. Because of that, the body runs out of oxygen and the cells start dying. Then there's another substance that blocks the electrical signals in the heart, making it stop beating instantly. And the patient can, quote-unquote, feel at peace, because one of the substances shuts down all pain signals to the brain, so the body doesn't feel anything at all. On average, it takes about 6 minutes from the moment the injection is given until the patient takes their final breath. So, is euthanasia really the way out for those whose pain is just too much to bear? Actually, Euthanasia has been around since ancient Greece and Rome. Some philosophers even supported it. One of them was Plato. He said that people who were seriously ill with no hope of getting better should not have to drag out their suffering. Like when cancer has already spread everywhere, or maybe when someone has a condition that makes it impossible to live without machines. In cases like that, the focus usually shifts from trying to cure them to making the rest of their life more comfortable and meaningful. And the patients have rights over their own bodies. They have the right to choose which medical treatments they want, and that includes euthanasia. Or if the patient is not conscious anymore, that decision can be made by someone close to them. For example, let's take a look at what happened to this one woman. She was in a car accident that caused serious brain damage. Doctors said she was in a kind of coma. The difference was she could open her eyes and make unclear sounds, but she still had no awareness. She could not respond to people or anything around her. The only reason she was still breathing was because of the medical equipment keeping her alive. Her father felt that her life at that point wasn't truly human, and he made a heartbreaking decision. He asked the doctors to remove all the machines that were keeping her alive. His request was rejected by local court, but for years he kept fighting. Finally, more than a decade later, the court allowed the doctors to disconnect everything. Not long after, she was declared dead. So now, the big question is, should euthanasia really be something that's allowed everywhere in the world? Alright, now imagine this. Someone suddenly gets told they have a serious illness with no known cure. But actually, there are some treatment options they could try. The problem is, those options are expensive, and there's no guarantee they will work. So, to ease the financial burden on their family, they decide to end their life, even though deep down, they still want to give the treatments a shot. In a case like that, can we really say the decision to end their life was truly the patient's own choice? What's even scarier is how financial pressure could lead to an unfair healthcare system. People with money can keep fighting to get better, while those with less might feel forced to give up and choose death. Some doctors believe that what we should be focusing on is not euthanasia, but building a better healthcare system. Because if euthanasia gets legalized while healthcare is still broken, there's a chance that the government might, in a way, take this as a shortcut to fix bigger problems. And there's an even darker possibility. People who are already vulnerable, like people with disabilities or the elderly, could end up becoming the main targets for euthanasia. There's also a lot of fear about this practice being abused. If it becomes more common, the rules might slowly loosen over time. Something that was once a last resort option could turn into a go-to practical solution for anything. For example, let's take a look at the Netherlands once more. Euthanasia there used to be only for people with severe illnesses. Now, there's a debate going on about whether it should also apply to elderly people who just feel like their life is done. In the future, euthanasia might start to feel more and more normal. And that's not all. If access becomes too easy, there might even be an industry that sees euthanasia as a way to make money. Imagine this, clinics offering it as a service with tempting marketing, or insurance companies that would rather cover euthanasia than pay for expensive long-term treatments. We might feel like death is something far away, something we don't really think about. But death has always been an inseparable part of human life. It's the only thing that's truly certain in this world. But when humans gain control over death, does that change what death means? Or maybe having the freedom to choose is what makes us more human? Scientific progress is unstoppable. It's like it always has an answer to everything. But behind every answer, a new question pops up. And often, those questions make us rethink what it really means to be human. Someday, all those deadly diseases might be curable. And when terrifying illnesses are no scarier than a cold, with medicine you can easily grab from the pharmacy, will euthanasia still be an option? In the end, maybe it's by remembering both life and death that we can truly hold on to every second we have.